Well, hello and welcome to our first ever episode of Breathing Room. I'm your host, Rob Hlavaty, and I'm very excited today to be joined by my good friends Kat Dolan and Nathan Robinson. I'm coming to you today from the Asheville Play Studios in Asheville, North Carolina, and just want to give a big shout out to our producer Matt Dunn of AV Live for making this all possible today. Oh, all right, so I'm excited. I'm overwhelmed. I'm feeling good. It's great to be doing this today. It's been about 2 years in the making, and I'm really excited to finally bring this idea to fruition and make this a reality. So, just a little bit about what Breathing Room is all about and how the idea came to be. I moved to Asheville in October of 2017, which was just about a month after my father committed suicide. And it's been a hell of a ride since then. I've made a lot of mistakes, made a lot of connections, and I'd like to think made a lot of progress. I feel like I'm doing much better now and learning some every day. And I wanted to be able to take that and put that into a format where I can essentially collaborate with local artists, creatives, and even just local humans and let them share their backstories, promote their crafts, and really just kind of share the deeper backstory in a way that feels meaningful about the art that they create. Something I'd like to be very open and vocal about is my experience with mental health and also the mental health opportunities or experiences of my guests, as comfortable as they feel to get into it. Just understanding the number of creatives who are at the end of the day dealing with their own mental opportunity. I think it's something that's very common in our peers. So that's something that I'd like to pull on and give the platform an opportunity for people to be able to share what's going on in their worlds. What kind of thoughts, feelings are they bringing into their writing, and how does that come out, and how would they like people to digest and take that information in? Something I've learned along my journey is just how important it is to remain connected and find the room to breathe. With that, let's take 10 seconds, create some breathing room. This will be silent intentionally. Let's just take some time, 10 seconds, focus on your breath, and let's get prepared to have some good conversation. All right, awesome. It always feels good to breathe. We forget to do it sometimes, but it does feel good to be intentional about it and really go through the motions there.
Oh, yeah.
So just a little bit about myself. You guys obviously have a little bit of insight here, but as I said, my name is Rob Hlavaty. I'm 28 years old and currently live in Asheville, North Carolina. I was born and raised in New Jersey, so I'm sure Kat and I will get into that a little bit at some point here. As my day job, I work as a consultant in the tech field and have through that, I think, had a lot of unique and organic experiences where I've been put into situations where I have to collaborate with people in this way and get to be the one asking the questions and really get to be curious and learn a lot about the people that I'm interacting with. Some of my side hobbies include going to therapy, straight up. I do that a lot. It's been good for me, so that will probably come out at some point in the conversation. Working with local artists in a management or agent capacity. I've been doing that for about a year on and off. I play music myself. I don't like to call myself a musician, but I do play and always enjoy opportunities where I can do that and share with people in that way. I like working and volunteering at local events. It's been mostly music festivals for me lately. Something I've really enjoyed doing and getting involved from kind of that side of the industry in event production and really helping make things happen. And finally, I've really taken a lot of time lately to try to start and continue the conversation around suicide. That's not the intent of this podcast. That's not what it's about, or the show, I should say. But it has definitely been a catalyst for me in being more open and vocal about what I'm struggling with and paying more attention to those around me and making sure that I'm asking the right questions of my loved ones if I could tell that they're struggling, you know? So at this point, I'd like to jump in and introduce the two guests that I have on today. Really excited to be joined by them. Both good friends of mine. Kat Dolan is a general badass. I've had the opportunity to meet Kat in the past couple months here, and she's a poet, creative, an entrepreneur, and in my opinion, really just an all-around thought leader when it comes to suicide and social isolation. She started her nonprofit organization, Out of Your Mind. So I'm really excited for her to share about that and kind of tell us what she's been working on lately. And then I'm also joined by Nathan Robinson. Nate is less of a badass, but he's still cool. I would say he's a mad ass. You see what I did there?
I did, yeah. I like that. Yeah,
right. Nate goes by the stage name Mad Robinson. He's a local singer-songwriter, a busker, and really just a very talented musician that I've grown really close to over the past couple years. Nate has an EP on Spotify. You can check it out. It's titled Ramblin' Fever. He also has a couple videos up on YouTube that I hope we can talk about a little bit today at some point. And he's always working on writing something new. So that's something I'm curious on pulling on today, Nate, is where you find that just consistent energy to want to be writing, because I know that takes a lot and you really have to kind of force yourself to be in a place to write a poem or write a song or finish those things. So I'd like to hear how you continually seem to find that motivation to keep writing. So, Kat, why don't you just go ahead and give us a quick introduction, let us know a little bit about Out of Your Mind, some of the things that you've been working on, maybe any performances that you've had or that you have coming up or open mics you've attended. Just kind of the floor is yours if you want to share what you've been working on.
Okay, I'll give you a quick synopsis. My name is Kat Dolan. I was born and raised in New Jersey. I'm 27 years old. I moved to North Carolina 5 years ago after I was on a road trip and I got caught in the fog on the Parkway and kind of ended up in Boone, just outside of Boone, and I've been there ever since. I started Out of Your Mind, which is a creative approach to mental health. Started that in May of 2018. So we're about a year and a half old. We're still kind of in the baby stages,
right.
But it's a phenomenal organization. It's my true passion. That's why I started it. And our mission is to combat social isolation through creative peer support and then reframe mental illness as a mental opportunity. So what that kind of entails is that growing up, I was always told, having struggled with depression and anxiety, I was always told I was not alone. But I didn't really believe anybody, because where were all the people?
Right.
There was no one.
Right.
I was always talking to adults about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So Out of Your Mind, its intention is to bring to life the phrase, you are not alone. And so we put on 3 to 4 events every month in Boone, North Carolina and Winston-Salem. And that could be a variety of things. We do open mics, group hikes, self-defense classes, watercolor classes, aerial silks, short story book clubs, and kind of whatever I feel like doing.
Right,
Because
right.
I'm in charge of putting all the events on.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of get the whole gamut, and it's a lot of fun. My day job, I do a lot of odd jobs. It's kind of like the mountain hustle. So my real focus is I do inspirational speaking for suicide prevention in high schools and at the college level as well. I also talk to business professionals and at mental health conferences and film festivals more recently. But when I'm not doing that, when I'm trying to make ends meet, I do a variety of things. I do house sitting. Right now I'm working on a Christmas tree farm, which is a lot of fun. If I didn't
Nice hard labor.
if I didn't like Christmas before, I surely don't now.
Right. Definitely killed it for you.
It's just ridiculous. But it's a really good time. And so I've for the past 3.5 years, I've been living in a vehicle. So I was living in a school bus for 3 years, and been in and out of living in various cars. Right now I'm in my van, my good old Dodge Ram conversion van. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Very cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing everything there. And that's certainly something I want to get into in just a few minutes here, is what it's been like living out of your vehicle,
Mm-hmm.
some of the challenges that come with it that maybe most people wouldn't expect or anticipate. And maybe talk about some of the stigma that's around van life.
Totally.
I think there's definitely some of that still underlying, and maybe you have family members or friends who aren't too keen on your living in a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Be curious to pull on that and talk about it. And also, I think I'd really like to talk about, Kat, how you got started with Out of Your Mind,
Totally.
where the manifestation of that idea came from, and what you're bringing to the table with you. I think that's really helpful for people to hear.
Cool. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So, Mr. Robinson, Nathan Robinson, why don't you go ahead and give us a little overview as well? Tell me about the videos for Ramblin' Fever as well as Hay Bales, what the process was like working on those for you, and anything that you've been working on or plan to work on in the near future.
Okay, yeah. All right, yeah, let me start from birth here.
Please don't.
No, please don't. Okay. No, yeah, I've been in and out of Asheville, this area for the last 15 years or so. And I found songwriting when I came back here after I got out of the military. I played while I was in, and then I really just fell in love with the art of songwriting when I got out, and found that as a huge, a coping, like an outlet. So, yeah, I've been, I had a couple videos, Ramblin' Fever. I went out to California, and that's when I was packed up my car and, just lived down the road and played music. And yeah, it was great. And then I went and stayed with my cousin in LA, and we worked on Ramblin' Fever for a couple months and made that, and it was a blast. And then I came back here. I left again. That was 2 years ago when I made that video. And I came back here and we shot Hay Bales with Mr. Matt Dunn over here, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I was there, so you're not telling me, but just go ahead and give a little bit of background on where that idea came from, where we filmed it. It'd be helpful, I think, to provide some of that commentary. And if anybody hasn't seen those videos, go check out on YouTube. They're both listed under Mad Robinson. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, you can find both of those, and you'll have an idea what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so the character from the Hay Bales video just randomly came. We were having lunch on a Sunday afternoon, and I was wearing some dark blue jeans with a light blue button-down shirt, and I looked like I was from a prisoner from Shawshank Redemption. My buddy Dempsey Jones said, who me and him worked on the song together. So we were like, hey, let's shoot a video, and it just kind of all came together. And while we were shooting, I just kind of found this character, a character who had spent most of his life in and out of prison, and gets released from prison and just doesn't know how to adapt in society. So yeah, I don't know. I just came up with the character and ran with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. It just kind of it created itself.
You scared my grandma.
Good.
I showed her the video, and it took some explaining. She was quite afraid.
Okay, good. Perfect.
So you nailed it.
I nailed it. Yeah, I was scaring people. Maybe scaring myself, but
yeah, I think it's important to do that.
Yeah.
Keep yourself on the edge,
Yeah, so, yeah. And now I'm working on just writing some stuff. I have an idea for an album that I want to write, so I'm just, pushing on that. Pushing on writing for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time and energy, I think, to get an album together.
Right.
Make sure you have your concept down.
Yeah.
Actually get to recording. There's a lot that goes into that process.
Right. Yeah. I've always had ideas for songs, and they kind of change from day to day or idea from idea. But this, I want one idea for, a whole piece, an album.
Yeah. So you really want.
Yeah. I want to hone in on this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited. So that's what I'm working on now.
Cool, very cool.
Yep.
Something I wanted to pull on that I think I just heard you said, and Kat, I want to see if you can relate, is having a lot of song ideas or having a lot of poem ideas, things that come to mind in the moment, you get started, and they maybe never see a true proper finish. Is that something that you've experienced in your writing process? I know that when I'm writing, I often have the ADHD kick in, and I won't be able to work on a full song. I will jump over to another partially written song and then jump over to yet another and struggle with that next level to go and actually complete something?
Totally, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that happens to me all the time. There's so many bits and pieces. I always tell people if they ever find my body in a car accident, cancel, you should check the floor for the note that I was writing, because I was writing like a line that came to me and it was really good. And that's why, but I think that it's nice to have those bits and pieces, because with poetry and sure with songwriting, everything's connected. So you find one thread and then you kind of just piece the threads together, and sometimes the threads are short and sometimes they're long and they're fully thought out. But as long as you put them down and you don't lose the albatross, you can always go back to them and keep going. And sometimes the thought will stick with you and you'll keep going over and over in your head. For example, Nobody But Myself took me probably 2.5 years to write.
Wow.
I had the first line for 2 years and then slowly pieced it together, and then it all came out in one afternoon.
That's great.
So it's always good to keep those little bits.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing when it happens? It's kind of like getting a straight line in a Tetris game where you maybe have a couple disparate things that you've written and somehow they piece together and make a cohesive work.
And you're the only one who's psyched.
Right. Right. That's all that matters sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's exciting stuff.
Yeah. So Nate, what's that experience been like for you?
Oh man, I'm very scattered, especially lately, with writing. I'm just kind of all over the place because, I have that one main idea, and I'm writing something not daily but close to it,
right?
And it's like something different. So I have so much to pull from right now. So I guess the hard part is just like honing in on those pieces.
And getting a cohesive voice, I think that's the most difficult part, especially when you're putting something together like an album or like a book of poetry. It's like it's got to all kind of link together. It can't be so random, or there has to be some kind of commonality.
Right. Yeah.
I think as the creator of those works, we can often overanalyze and get really stuck on this one doesn't really fit the theme or the message. But if you take a step back, you can make it fit. You can force fit the piece, and it could be something that does fit the overall plan,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've done that a lot in the past, is just kind of like, all right, I'm going to finish this song. I'm really excited about it, so I'm going to throw it together real quick. And so now I'm like taking a step back. I'm like, I'm going to put a little more time and thought into this because I want it. I love this piece, and I want it to be a little more special, and I really want to put the right pieces together,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. So what I'd like to talk about right now is pull on an experience that I know you both have had. Kat, as you said, you're kind of currently living in your vehicle right now. Nate, I know you've done that in the past. You've traveled around the country in your van. Let's talk a little bit about what living out of your vehicle is actually like for you. What are some of the biggest challenges? And I'm curious how it impacts your writing.
Biggest challenges? Oh, gosh. Do you want to go first?
Biggest challenges of living in the van.
Yeah, I'm curious. It's a very common thing. I mean, something you're seeing more and more, especially in the Asheville area. There are a lot of people willingly choose to live out of their vehicles and seem to take a lot from it. So what has it been for you guys? Maybe
privacy, or trying to find some isolation.
Yeah.
On top of, showering. If you're traveling and you don't have a gym membership, or you do have a gym membership, because that's how I did it.
Right.
And there's not one within 300 miles. You got to figure out, a way of cleaning yourself, hygiene.
Yeah.
I think it's romanticized in that sense, and it's so funny that so many people are, online it's so glorified and everything, but I've been to van life rallies before just for like tips and tricks on how to keep insulate the van and things like this, and I have yet to meet someone who lives in their van full time. I mean, it's not a thing. It's just it could be for certain elongated periods, but I mean, you just can't. You can't. You can't. It's so difficult. And for the reason for showering, for the reason for not having privacy or isolation, or, I mean, think about it. I recently moved into a room in a barn even, and I remember the first day I was there, I just sat in my room and read all day because I hadn't been able to sit in my room.
Yeah, you crave that space.
Just sit, and during the day, just sit in one room because it's too hot in the van, too cold in the bus. I always had to be somewhere during the day, and you're really in your van or bus or whatever to sleep.
Right.
And that's kind of it. You really can't do much else.
Mm-hmm.
But that, yeah.
I guess that is the hardest time, or hardest thing is like spending time in your van. You know, like you got to have a really comfortable van to like want to just chill in there. Yeah. So that was kind of difficult.
Tell me about your vans. I want to hear. You have a Dodge Ram Cat, that's right?
I do. I have a. It looks like a Scooby-Doo van. It's so sketchy. I have a van. I got it 3 years ago when I came back from New Zealand. I was living over there for about 5 months, and I was living in a Subaru Impreza that I had bought. And so coming back and buying the van was just the lap of luxury.
Right. Big upgrade.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
To not have to sleep in the back seat, to actually be able to sleep diagonal and fit pretty okay was amazing. But the van it smelled, I call it the litter box, because
it's attractive.
It smelled like a litter box when I got it. It was super moldy and leaky. And it's still that, but I took the rug out so it doesn't smell as bad. But what kind of van do you have?
I had, it was a Plymouth, whatever it is. I can't even remember the name of the
Plymouth minivan.
Yeah, those gray. It was like a '93 Plymouth. The name of the van is.
I can see it.
Yeah, you can see. About. It's got the one sliding door. It's the one on the cover of El Camino for the Black Keys.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it was one of those,
sick.
just a gray one. So, and I moved into that from an Impreza.
Did you?
It was
really?
a hatchback one. Yeah.
You had a hatch. I did not have a hatchback.
Oh man, that's pretty rough.
That's rough.
I know.
Yeah,
that's super rough.
I could stretch out and my feet would just kind of stick into the dash a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it was luxurious for me.
Oh,
kind of. Well, I mean, as much as it can be.
As much as a van can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nate, would you say that you're between vans right now? I know you're often longing to get back into one.
Yeah, I'm longing, dude. I'm in a house and it's too damn big. I got too much room. I just can't wait to be squashed into a van again.
Isn't it so funny because you talk about the challenges and how people romanticize it and how nobody can, it's true, nobody can live in a van full time, but then you get into a house and you're like,
yeah, you miss it.
Oh my gosh, like everything's so convenient, like indoor plumbing. Like I remember I moved into a house, or anytime I'm in a house, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can hear the refrigerator humming and I think I'm going to lose my mind. Like I think I'm going to lose it. And just the fact of not being able, you're so removed from nature in a house. Like I really need to be able to wake up and know, I'm on the earth time, I wake up with the sun, I go to sleep with the sun. I know exactly what temperature it is outside because I touch my window, I breathe out hot air, and I can tell by what cloud I make if I'm going to freeze today or not,
You should be a weather person. That's pretty good. Just breathe on a window, like, 42. Yeah. It's 42 exactly.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. It's being, like, very close to nature. Not straight up homeless where you're always in nature, but you're close to homelessness,
Yeah.
You're teetering that line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
What are your favorite parts? What are some things that you miss when you move back to a home, maybe? What are some things that you look forward to? And Nate, maybe some of the reasons that you want to get back out there?
The freedom. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little more freedom and, like, maybe, like, less bills. Mm-hmm. I'd like to cut out bills, of paying rent. That's just money going to the wind where I can, like, put it into something that I want, I could, to buying a nice van or whatever. Yeah, man. And just like going and sleeping anywhere I want. Mm-hmm. Like I could go out and sleep in the woods somewhere.
Right.
I like the freedom.
Yeah.
Really.
It is the freedom. I think it really is the freedom. It's also been a game changer for my anxiety. I got to talk about fight or flight, Mm-hmm. I like to run. I definitely am a runner when things get tough or I feel like I'm not creating. I'll go and put myself in a new situation so I can actually raw learn again. And so having everything in my van, knowing that I can leave at any moment and come back at any moment, but especially just leave at any moment, it's been done wonders for my anxiety. It calms me down greatly. I don't feel trapped, and I don't feel trapped anymore. I never get that feeling, which is great.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it's a safe place that you can go and disconnect. I know that, Kat, you often, even if you're staying with a friend, will still sleep in your van.
Yeah.
It's just a comfortable place. It's where you know.
It's comfortable, and it's also something concrete, something the same, because it's really disorienting to wake up somewhere where you don't recognize.
Right.
Even if you're for a second, you're like, where am I? And then, oh, I remember. Okay, I'm here. But even if I'm at a friend's house, I'll stay in my van because I'll wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm in my van. I don't even have to think twice about it. And because to wake up with a really quick, anxious thought is not the best. It's like drinking too much coffee like Rob. It's like a caffeine shot to the brain. It's no fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So something I'm curious about is and I think I brought it up before, is the stigma that's around the van lifestyle. I know when I think of living in a van, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the SNL skit, right? In a van down by the river.
Yeah.
And so it's not something that has been romanticized in our society, and I can definitely imagine that you've had some hurdles to overcome just in maybe getting full approval from those around you. Have you run into that at all? What are some of the challenges that you've had? How do your parents feel about it maybe? Did it take them some time to warm up?
Yeah. When I first moved into my vehicle, my dad told me, he was like, you're going to be like your Uncle Rod. And my Uncle Rodney was in and out of prison his whole life. and on the spectrum, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so he had a rough life. He's a whole nother topic.
Right.
But yeah, so that was automatically like, it was like you're going downhill, like you're moving into your car, which it could be, or it just could be an experience.
Right.
And that's what it was. It was a great life experience. So
definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely that.
At what point do you think your dad kind of changed his tune on that a little bit, or does he still not see eye to eye with it?
I'm not sure. I've been in a house for a year, and now he sees me a little more stable ground. So I think if I were to move back into a van, he's like, "Oh, I don't know, what are you doing?
You're gonna be like Uncle Rod.
You're gonna be like Uncle Rod." Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, a lot of people. I don't know. No one said anything, but you feel people's energy. When I pop open my double side doors at 7 a.m. and I crawl out and smelling however I smell for however many days I've been on the road, and people give you looks, for sure. When I go to get coffee at some place and I'm brushing my teeth in the bathroom and washing my face, and I come out and it looks like I've just washed my face. You get a look. Or if you go to the laundromat and you pull all the sheets out of your van, people kind of give you a look. But I don't really know why. I guess I think I'd like to think that a bit of it is curiosity.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, I don't really think it's judgment too much. I really truly think it's curiosity, and even if it was judgment, I'm from Jersey, so I don't care.
Thick skin.
So what are you looking at?
Yeah, got a problem?
Yeah, keep it to yourself.
Yeah. Give me one of your better on the road stories. Being in the van, maybe at a time where it seemed like things couldn't go worse, and then they do. I imagine when that happens, when you're on the road, you can definitely run into some challenges, and you're kind of at the mercy of the performance of your vehicle if you have a debt too. Nate, there's one story that comes to mind of an experience that you've had that is related here.
Yeah. Which one is that? Is that losing my vehicle completely, or you want to hear that one?
That one comes to mind too. That's a good one.
Well, so I completely lost my vehicle. I lost my brakes coming down the PCH. and I was coming up to a one-lane road where the road had fallen out. It's that part where the ocean is on this side, and there's a big cliff on this side. There's a red light, and there's 3 cars sitting at the red light. And I'm hitting the brakes, and I'm pulling my e-brake, and nothing's happening. I'm doing like 35, 40. So I weave around 3 cars, and in between the car and the concrete barrier and onto the one-lane road towards oncoming traffic. And so I run up onto the embankment, and that stops me, but it totals my car.
Right.
So yeah, at that point, I had lost my car. I was like 15 miles from town, so I kind of Fred Flintstoned it down to town the next day, and sold it for $20 because no one was taking any scrap metal at the time, and it wasn't worth anything. And the guy gave me $20 and a ride back to town, and so I went from there without a vehicle, and that was a whole new experience.
Right,
Yeah.
right. At that point, you crashed your house.
I crashed my house, yeah, and I took only what I could carry. And it was great, man. That's where Ramblin' Fever came from. I went homeless from Northern California and like hiked it down to San Francisco and got a bus to LA and stayed with my cousin. Yeah, and that's where that video came from. So I can't complain. It was scary, and it was definitely an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely put me there with you, and I can't really imagine what I would do in that situation. It sounds like you did a good job,
So
kind of
scary.
like Bruce Willising your way.
Yeah, Bruce
Out
Willis
of-
did.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't imagine being in that position where it's like, okay, where am I staying tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just adapting.
Right.
I had a friend like who lived 40 minutes away, so that was like I took a bus and I went and stayed with her for a week, and we played music. She's a musician, and I kind of like got my head on my shoulders, and I realized, that wasn't my end destination, staying there. I was like, I got to keep moving. I got to keep the wheels rolling, even though they're feet now.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were
Just-
able to take something from it that maybe you weren't expecting and probably didn't appreciate at the time.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do,
Yeah.
really. But all in all, it's kind of like what I set out to do. Like, I left with the fear of not knowing, and it's like that's where true adventure comes from. It's just not knowing what you're getting yourself into, really.
Yeah.
And then something like that happens, and it's wonderful, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really only have yourself in those situations. I think that's one thing that van life has taught me, or living in a vehicle. It's like, okay, if I freak out right now, I'm just going to be freaking out, and
Right.
that's not
Right.
going to help me
Yeah.
figure out
Mhm.
what's going on, and the adventure begins when everything goes wrong. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not meant to have a car. Right?
Yeah, and it really builds some inner confidence, and you can
Totally.
find some strength within it, and that can definitely help your mental health
Oh, yeah.
as well. Your self-worth, and
That's a powerful drug.
yeah,
Self-confidence.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, you are your home. You are
And when
your
you're
home.
and when you're backed up against a wall like that and you really have to get creative and figure out what you're going to do, I think that's a really good time for that to shine through.
Mm.
Totally.
So Nate, I think now's a good time. You have a song that is related to living out of your van.
Mm.
It's called Blue.
Yeah,
You want to play that for us real quick?
yeah, I'll play it.
Yeah.
Play the song.
Yeah, that'd be great. And then I'd love to spend a couple minutes talking about it and what went into the writing of it, and kind of what feelings it brings up for you now that you're playing it.
Okay. Okay, all right, yeah, so I wrote it in my van. Spend my days in a van, coming up with what I can, writing down rhymes with my hands. I'll tear a hole in outer space, don't blink an eye just in case. Hey man, we're staring at the moon. Oh, there's a girl in the parking lot, a boy on a skateboard, he cusses a lot, and I don't think his mom would approve. When are you coming home, dear boy? We missed you. And aren't you cold out there in the mountains and the blue? If I could bleed a sweeter shade of blue, spend my nights thinking a lot, trying not to drink it a lot. The absent bar right down the road. Oh, there's a girl in the pizza shop, she's got blonde hair, I think you'd like her a lot. She'll laugh with you and laugh back with me. When are you coming home, dear boy? We missed you. And aren't you cold out there in the mountains and the blue? If I could bleed a sweeter shade of blue, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you. Spend my mornings putting holes in the walls, breathing in dust, ignoring my falls. Oh, I can't speak, my lungs are filled with sin. When are you coming home, dear boy? We miss you. And aren't you cold out there in the mountains and the blue? If I could bleed a sweeter shade of blue, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you.
Awesome. Way
Thank
cool.
you. Clapping.
Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that song. I think I ask you to play it for me more often than any other song. When I hear it, I can almost picture you being in the van. For some reason, the sun is rising or setting.
More setting.
Just kind of sitting there with maybe not much to do, but write that song. Tell me a little bit about what that process was like writing it for you. Where were you? What was going through your mind? And what does it feel like when you play it now?
Well, it always takes me back. It's one of those songs that paints a picture in my head and takes me back to where I was. I was in Breckenridge, Colorado. This was last summer, and I was in the Plymouth, whatever it was.
Black Keys.
Hey, Jamie, look that up.
Voyager, maybe? Is that it? I don't know.
That sounds cool.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah. So, yeah. It was a Sunday evening, and I was in my van with nothing else to do besides do what I love and write a song. And I think the song was like it's like a letter from my people back here, asking me, when am I going to come home?
Right.
And the verses is like me saying, where I am and what I'm doing, and kind of just being this, the manic part of me, like these lines some of the lines didn't even make sense to me at the time.
Right.
But when I think of them now, it's like, wow, that was just me, just like the crazy, weird thoughts of I'm out on the road and I'm like, just come up with these stupid lines or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Where was I?
That's a great question, Nate.
Yeah.
I didn't follow you one bit.
No, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
That doesn't make any sense.
Did anything come up for you, Kat, in hearing that? Was there anything that you wanted to kind of pull on? If not, I have another question lined up, so I just wanted to give you the opportunity.
I just really enjoyed the imagery, and like you said, I can really feel and kind of visualize where you were. I got the whole in the van at sunset. I can relate, so
yeah,
it was really lovely song. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always nice when you listen to a song or a poem and you can almost close your eyes and picture yourself there. Mm-hmm. That's something that I try to let happen naturally if I can. Mm-hmm. I closed my eyes a little bit there and it was working, so
very cool.
Good job with the imagery. Cool. Well, let's shift gears just a little bit. I want to talk about some heavy shit here. I want to talk about depression and anxiety. We've had the chance to talk a little bit about this beforehand, and I think we can all relate on this front with dealing with our own mental opportunities here. I think some of us even have our own diagnoses and things that we've struggled with over the years. So maybe to kind of kick things off, Kat, if you would you be able to do Nobody But Myself for us?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, okay. So this is a poem called Nobody But Myself. I think my depression is sexy. When I see her dancing to jazz tunes under blue light in a wooden bar, her dark curls sway with her hip clicks and honey-colored drink, I think my depression is a movie star. But maybe no one let her read the script. She's quick to improvisation, played out with such motivation, you'd never guess she's pretending. I think my depression makes magic. I've never seen someone make sadness disappear the way she does. The drinking persistence or her magician's assistant erase the bad days in an instant. She saws her anxieties in half, and unable to cadaver them back, she breathes a nervous laugh. I think my depression feels nothing. At least she tells me so while she stumbles home sloppy, swaying. She's laying on my side of the bed when she drunkenly mumbles she wishes she was dead, but maybe it's all in my head, so I don't worry. I won't wake her. Tomorrow, I'll keep trying to save her. I think my depression is lonely. She never leaves my side. But she won't eat the food I make her, and I can't predict when she's gonna cry. I tell her she has to try. So on the bad days, we snip the sizing tags from her jeans and tape the self-harming scissors shut. On the bad days, we dance shoeless and tell each other we are enough. And on the good days, because we still have good days, she wonders why she ever tried to give up. But one good day is never enough. I think my depression is suicidal. I tell her, if she won't love her, I will. Because even the shit pieces increase her uniqueness. I tell her she won't believe this. But she's the only good thing I've got. She's the only one who reminds me to feel something. I want to feel something. I want to feel as real as my depression feels to me. So please, I beg of her, don't leave. It's getting worse. She screams, but I'm quick to burst. I love you. I loved you first. I think I am my depression. And I think my depression is sexy. I think I am complex. I am loud. I am beautiful. I am strong. I think if I wasn't this good at being sad, I wouldn't have made it this long. I think my depression is my superpower. I think my depression allows me to feel. I think my depression must be a poet. Because a lot of people believe or think or know. And when you believe or think or know, you are a lot of other people. But my depression, she feels. I feel. And the moment I feel, I am nobody but myself.
Wow. That was incredible.
Thanks.
I have the chills.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
No, that was really great.
Thank you so
for
much.
sharing that.
Thanks.
Yeah, it puts some things into words that I wouldn't have come up with on my own. The way that you're able to personify depression, and really take an objective look at it and say, this isn't going away. I've tried everything and it's here to stay. So I might as well love it. I might as well learn to live with it and learn to use some of the powers, as you say, that come along with it. And I think that can really only start to happen when we stop fighting it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I got diagnosed when I was 15, and they're like, you have clinical depression and panic attacks and anxiety, and it's never going to go away. And so I was such an impressionable age. I was like, okay, I'm the depressed girl. Okay, that's who I am. This is my identity. And after fighting it for so long, especially being medicated for so long on so many different types of medication, it's like always trying to like suppress her, personifying depression, just trying to suppress her and hide her and make excuses for her. I was just so sick of it because it's really, if you look at, I studied English in college, and you look at all my favorite artists, and they're all alcoholics or committed suicide or
Right.
super depressed, and they always talk about, you know, the tortured artist. And yeah, I mean, when I am depressed, some of my best writing comes out. When I am anxious, it produces some of my best writing. So why am I trying to quell that? Why am I trying to hush that? And so that first line, you know, I think my depression is sexy. It just was, you know, let me say something to her that maybe she's never heard before.
Right.
Maybe something that'll keep her around, and maybe we can work together at this, because I know she's going to come around. My depression is going to come around, but it doesn't have to be awful. We can have a good time, you know. We can really bounce off each other and use the energy to produce something positive for both of us.
Right. No, that's very well said.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Such a great mentality.
I mean, it's like the only way, right? Especially when it's forever. It doesn't go away. It might go away for some periods,
Right.
but it comes back, and I just don't think it's that bad, and it just kills me. You know, for lack of a better phrase, it really, it's painful to hear people say, oh, you know, I'm going to my therapist, or like it's all whispered, or like,
Right. Oh, it's hush. We can't talk about that.
can't
and
talk
we can't
about
talk about
it.
people's
Right.
depression.
Or
You
like-
can't be sad. It's not allowed. you
yeah,
know?
or even just like, you know, people saying, oh, well, here's a heavy topic, you know, even, and it's like, it is a heavy topic. It totally is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not something we can't, it's not taboo. It's not
Not at
something-
all.
And I think, you know, and that's why Rob and I have talked about this, and that's why I coined the phrase mental opportunity, and I use it in all of our Out of Your Mind events, because once you say to someone, hey, oh, have you been, oh, I've just been working through a mental opportunity lately that's been taking up a lot of my time, and I think I'm getting close, but it's just
Right.
I've been writing a lot and trying to suss it out. I'm just working through it. People were like, oh, cool. Like, what's that? You know,
Right.
what have you been doing?
Can I have one?
Can I have one? Can I hear your song? You know?
Right.
So it just opens up, puts a positive spin on something that can totally be positive. It's just perspective.
And something that you can totally and should totally talk about.
Right.
That's something I've been trying to carve out the space in my life for lately, is being really honest with that internal voice. And if it's depressed, letting people know in my own way. And now I know I can just say I'm dealing with a mental opportunity.
Yeah. And people are
sounds a
so
lot better.
confused. They're so confused
Sounds a
that
lot
they're
better.
just like, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, cool.
Right.
Like afraid to ask. kind
Right.
of, yeah.
Yeah. It sounds a lot better than like, man, I just can't even leave my room. There's a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
Mental opportunity.
Mental opportunity. That's
Yeah.
great.
How does your mental health impact the work that you do? I'm thinking really from a creative sense here, and I want to open this up to both of you guys, because I think we just hit on a really interesting dialectic, which is maybe there are some parts of anxiety and depression and mania that can be really good for creating, if you can use it as that power and kind of hone in on that. Have you guys had that experience at all?
Yeah, definitely. Probably the first 3 or 4 years of writing, you know, it all came from depression or anxiety. You know, it came from that place of wanting to explain and find what's going on in my head, you know, and figure it out for myself. So it a great coping mechanism,
Right.
Right.
you know. So now if I need to, if I'm depressed, then yes, sometimes my work, it comes out and I'm depressed and it comes out on the page and maybe I feel better, or maybe I'm not depressed and it still comes out in another way.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, I mean, you can definitely use it for perspective, just like you were saying, and totally work it to your advantage. I think with my depression or my anxiety, you know, both at once or all at the same time, you never know. I get a lot of circular thinking, and I'll get kind of caught in like a thought, and kind of seeing it from every angle anyway. And when I write to music, and but it's not it's just one song. Like I'll find a song that evokes a particular emotion that kind of helps me stay on a thread, just a line helps me stay on that feeling, and I can pull from that. And so I think, call it depression, call it just creating and just being weird, I guess, but I'll listen to that same song for as long as it takes to get the poem out. So it could be anywhere from an hour to 10 hours to,
right.
I'm listening to the same song and a week's gone by, and no one, I thank God, I hardly ever have passengers in my van because it's the same song. I've really driven from North Carolina to New Jersey listening to one song because I was writing something in my head. And I think it's a nice...
That's a form of torture, right?
Well, look at me. It's a product of torture. You said you got chills. You liked the poem.
I did like the poem. So if it takes listening to one song for 10 hours, then so be it. So be it. Yeah. So just Toto on repeat. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Can we ask what song it was?
For Nobody But Myself?
Yeah.
It was Bare Bones by Rainbow Kitten Surprise.
Nice.
Bare Bones. Okay.
Yeah. So that's a shout out to Boone. Boone's got a great music scene. Just a
sure
tiny
does.
plug over there. But yeah, Rainbow Kitten Surprise is one of our proudest products.
They play here quite a bit, and I know they get a lot of attention.
Oh, they're massive now. Yeah,
yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah, but I love them. They're fantastic. They're really great to write to.
Tell me a little bit about the Boone music scene, how it compares. Some things that you see that are similar, maybe some things that you like better about the way things are out in Boone.
Yeah, I'm very partial.
I know. That's why I said it that way.
Boone so much, and I hang out in Nashville quite a bit.
Yeah.
But Boone is, it's a younger scene for sure, and it is just a lot, in my opinion, in my experience, because I've been more immersed in the Boone scene, is that it's a bit more supportive in the sense that people are not afraid to experiment, and also not afraid to, or just more inclined to be in, 5 different bands. Everybody's kind of helping each other create whatever they need to create. And the poetry scene in Boone is phenomenal. I mean,
right.
Just coming out of Appalachian State, you have Lyric is the poetry club on campus. I've done some work with them and gone and given talks to them, and gone to their open mics, and incredibly talented people. And what I noticed, and what I always encourage poets to do on stage, is please memorize.
Right.
Please do not get up there and read off your phone. A piece of me dies every time someone reads off a phone when they're reading a poem. It's just, if it comes from the heart, you should take the time to memorize it. And if it's something new, at least write it on a piece of paper. Oh gosh, when people go up with laptops.
Or a big iPad.
It's laughable. It's like that. It's like holding a cooking sheet, like a cooking sheet in front of your face.
Right.
It's just silly.
Yeah.
And so I've seen a lot more poets memorize and take the time to memorize in Boone than I have in Asheville.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you never know. Some people can just be getting started, and getting up in front of the mic regardless is a phenomenal thing, and not having memorized a piece shouldn't hold you back at all.
Right.
But if you really want to get into it and you really want to connect with your audience, you must memorize, because eye contact you get so much more out of it.
Right.
So much. It's like talking to a wall. If you have something in front of your face while you're reading it, you don't get all the potential out of open mic, which is a connection with other people.
And I think that's what I really connected to about your piece. I've seen videos of you performing it, but sitting here 2 feet from you, getting the eye contact, getting the emotion that's coming out of you, I think you really kind of get the full experience of what a piece is supposed to tell.
Right.
And I think the same is to be said for a musician as well. If I see someone who doesn't take the time to commit lyrics to memory, or somebody who even has a music stand, I make a mental note of it. I don't know if I judge it. Maybe I do. But
yeah, it's the same thing. I think it's the art of performance.
It
know?
is. Right. And that's the thing. You can be a musician, you can be a poet, but if you're a performer, you're on a whole different level.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of those other things that you think go into making a good performer? And kind of taking that a step further, Nate, I know you've done some busking in Asheville. What are the differences if I'm going to go up on stage in front of a captive audience and share my music or share my poems, or if I'm going to be out in front of mass general trying to create that energy and want to captivate people? Are there differences in how you perform?
Versus busking or on a stage?
Yeah.
I don't take busking as seriously, but for the most part, if I'm playing, I play the same if I'm playing a song, and if I have listeners especially. If I don't have listeners, that's another thing. If, like, no one's out and there's, like, every minute someone walks by, it's like, unless I'm really lost in the song.
Right.
But that, I guess, is the main goal, is to, like, get to that point where I can lose myself in the song, and that's where I find my ability to perform, I guess. And if I'm on a stage, then I feel like if I can lose myself in the song and find the picture that's going through my head when I wrote this song, maybe it'll be portrayed to the people in the audience, and maybe they'll feel that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any differences to the craft? I mean, the things that you would need to be successful as a busker? I imagine there's a little more glam to it, if you will. Like, you have to kind of look the part and play it up a little bit, and maybe add anything you can to draw people in other than just your sound.
Yeah, definitely, and I don't really do that.
Yeah.
I do busking mostly as an outlet for myself.
It's a way to practice.
A way to practice, and maybe some extra cash.
Right.
But I have, like, explored, like, dressing the part, and, like, kind of playing the part, trying to be a character, and I've had a lot of fun with it, with that. But yeah, there's definitely some glam to it.
Yeah, busking's so hard. As it took me, I've done it the past 2 years, and I did it in Paonia, Colorado, which was just for fun. We were just practicing. We actually made some money. I did it with my friend Paige O'Donovan, who's an incredible singer, songwriter, and then we did it on Pearl Street in Boulder, and it was super difficult. We had her dog and in Paonia, and her dog will, when she hits the high notes, her dog will howl with her.
Yeah.
So that got quite a few tips. Like, that
was
the draw, but it's really, really hard to perform poetry on the street because you have people walking by. Maybe they hear a line, maybe they stay and listen, maybe they don't,
Right.
So it's a really difficult. I wouldn't do it if I didn't have someone playing music with me.
Yeah. Have you seen the guy in Asheville who writes poetry on demand?
Oh, on the typewriters?
As busking? Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them floating
Interesting
around.
concept. I think, Nate, maybe you got a poem from him.
Yeah, I got one poem from this kid Daniel that I know. He's not here anymore, or in this town. But yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a neat way to maybe circumvent that and take something that is maybe harder to share in that setting, poetry, and still make it unique and something that people can take with them.
Yeah. It's definitely a shtick because it's tangible too. You
Right.
know? I think out of any busker, I don't know if they make more than music, but they might, because it's something people can hold on to. And,
right.
Right. I just got to work on my forearm strength if you're going to
carry
carry a typewriter.
Carry that typewriter. Yeah.
I always see them, and some of them got big rigs, and I'm like, shoot,
heavy.
is your van close by?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You just assume that they live in a van.
At this point, yeah.
That's funny.
90% probably live in a van.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a great way to bring it back. We talked about quite a bit today between just the van life, maybe some struggles, good and bad, with anxiety and depression. I think we might have kind of cut that conversation short a little bit. I'm not sure if there's any saved ammunition or thoughts that you guys have on anxiety or depression, your diagnosis of those things, or just what it was like finding out for yourself that you have them. and what that journey's been like. Is there anything that comes up for either one of you on that?
Finding my depression. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't have anything right now.
Right.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I like I say in the poem, and I meant every word because I wrote it. I really think that depression is my superpower because it's allowed me to connect with people in a way that they otherwise wouldn't connect with anybody else. Because at this point, I mean, shoot, it's no secret, like I've started a nonprofit organization for mental health,
Right.
and I've branded myself as like a suicide prevention speaker. So.
Right.
There's, I'm very, very open about it. And I think just my being open about it and when I perform, and I'm sure when you perform, I mean, it's a common occurrence for people to come up to me and just say, thank you. Yeah, I felt you. It was a release for me. And then they'll tell me some story about their experience with mental health. And it just opens the door. It gives, I think it helps give other people confidence, when you write something that comes from the heart and something that's relative to the head. People they become free. They get a free trip in the van.
Right, right. Yeah, people can definitely feel that. That's something we talk about quite a bit, Nate, is if we're out at a performance, watching a band or watching an artist, I think people can tell when something's authentic and where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
And I think for me, that's the most important part of performance art, is if I can see through something and it doesn't feel authentic to me, I'm going to have a really hard time staying engaged and connected.
Oh, totally.
But if I can tell that what I'm hearing is coming from a genuine place, more times than not pretty captivated by it.
Yeah. Good performance. It's like nobody wants to watch bad acting.
Right. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
It comes from the heart. It's a full body experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think something that's been a really interesting part of the journey for me is just figuring out, number one, the difference between my depression and anxiety, because I think they can manifest in similar ways sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And also just learning exactly how it is that they show themselves in my body.
Right.
That's something I've been trying to meditate on quite a bit, is just, okay, what is this that I'm feeling? Oh, it's just anxiety, back paying a visit. I need to go lay down or like eat some chocolate or just get into a different environment,
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you can start to learn your body and learn your mind in that way, you can really help minimize the impact that those things can have on you.
Oh, totally.
And I think it comes back to what you were saying before, which is just being open about it.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to communicate with the people around you that, hey, I'm just in this really anxious place today and I'm having a hard time. Could you give me some space?
Yeah, just getting creative and expanding your vocabulary. That's why that's why I came up with mental opportunity. That's why I came up with Inky Black Days, my black dog's following me around, just whatever makes sense to you, however.
It reminds me of Big Mouth on Netflix. It's a show that just came out recently, and one of the personifications, if you will, that they have in there is Depression Kitty. So it's this cartoon cat that follows one of the characters around, and that's something I was visualizing while you were reading your poem before. It's just this
fitting.
Really kind of cute way to talk about depression that, it can make you feel pretty intensely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I mean, again, and this is something we've talked about before, is that it was so much easier. The moment I decided to personify my mental health as somebody outside of me, it was the moment I was able to finally take care of her and address my depression and actually take care of myself.
Right.
Because it's so much easier to bring soup to your friend when you're sick, and it's so difficult for some reason for us to take Advil when we have a headache, or take a lie down when we've been going at it too hard. It's when it's somebody else, we care. We're much more inclined to care.
Yeah, if only soup would make us feel less depressed.
Well,
right?
actually,
eat some soup, and we're
I
gonna
make
go.
this great soup.
You're gonna have to
I got this soup.
share the recipe.
No soup for you.
But I want some. Is there something, a tangible thing that you give yourself as a treat or a way to take care of that depression when she's around? Like a go-to, like if I have this, I know it will help, even if it's only a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I knit like a crazy person, Rob.
Really?
Yeah, I knit like a mad woman. Yeah, when I'm super anxious, I'm like, oh, all right, my anxiety's here. I'm freaking out. I'm like doing this with my hands. Let's make a hat.
Yeah.
Like, who needs a hat? You can ask. I'm living. My neighbors, all of them, they all wear these goofy hats, and you can tell from a mile away that I made them because they all look the same.
Yeah.
And everybody, all my friends have hats. It's so sad. They wear them. They're really sweet about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a treat for me. And with my depression, I'll go for a walk.
Yeah.
I'll go for just a walk.
I'm all about a good hot bath, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, something about it is just meditative and very introspective.
Mm-hmm.
You're trapped in this place with no outside influence, and you got to work it out.
Oh yeah, I'm
You
working.
know?
I'm working on the plumbing in the van, Rob. You can
Yeah,
be the first one to try out the hot tub.
That would be great. I think we're on to something. Vans need hot tubs.
Oh gosh.
All right, well, I think we're just about out of time. I'm looking at Matt over here, see how we're doing on time.
110.
Yep, I think this is a pretty good place to wrap, guys. This has been really, really just incredible. I'm so happy to have had both of you on here today. Think I learned a lot and really appreciate you sharing your art with me and just sharing
Thank
your
you.
experiences. Again, this has been called Breathing Room. I'm your host, Rob Hlavaty, and I was joined today by Kat Dolan and Nathan Robinson. Sometime later this week, I'll be speaking to some members of a local band. Just throw a little teaser out there. Not going to give too much
gosh.
information.
Rob, you didn't tell me. I'm so excited for you.
I know, I'm keeping it under wraps.
Okay.
So stay tuned for that. And until then, don't forget to breathe. Thanks, guys.